Hi guys, so I want to do this video as a follow-up of my breeding video and to explain some of the basics of mutations. There are some more advanced stuff, but to be perfectly honest, I don't know if any of that has changed yet, so I just want to go through the very basics of it, and hopefully this will set anyone who doesn't know much about the mutation side of things, it'll give them an understanding of it. This should also operate as a just a standalone video, so if you understand about breeding out stats, you're all good. Okay, so a mutation is when you breed two creatures together, one of the stats that's being passed on, or potentially passed on, will get +2 levels to it. So that's the same as when a creature level has got 2 levels, clicking on that stat twice. That's essentially what's happened. At the same time, you would also get a colour change in the creature. Not always possible to see the colour change, so I will point that out. And you also get the random mutation number goes up once along the lineage. So, I've just picked him up, didn't mean to do that. There we go. Right, okay. So this guy has actually only got 2 mutations, but when we click in here, what you're going to see is he's actually says he got 3. He's only got 2 because I messed up, and I'll explain that in a second. But so what would happen is, say he passed on another mutation. At the moment, when he has a baby or any baby that comes from him, that baby will say it's got 3 random mutations from the patrilineal line. If he were to pass on another mutation, it would say 4. That's what it is. Now the thing is, those will tick up. So one of these numbers will tick up on a baby when it gets a mutation. But at that point, they are no longer linked. The stat itself and the random mutation are no longer linked. So that stat just becomes an increased stat. The thing is, the random mutations will be passed on to any baby no matter what. So any baby that I make from this vulture will have 3 random mutations in the patrilineal line. This presents a little bit of a problem when it comes to breeding out lines because you can't pick and choose your mutations. So you couldn't, for example, breed out a set of mutations and then maybe sort of breed for a better line. So say, for example, I wanted to breed out the stamina mutation that he has, I wouldn't lose these random mutations, and that would just make a weaker creature. You can only get mutations when you're not passing on a 20 out of 20 or more potentially. So you have to have under that 20/20 on a parent for you to be able to actually pass on the another mutation to children. So what that means is you don't want to breed 2 creatures that have the same mutation together, because all you're going to do is get the same stat out, but these numbers are going to double. So I've kind of demonstrated that on a couple of these creatures, and I specifically went out of my way to do this. So this guy, he actually only has 2 mutations. I did mess up with the parents. I actually bred 2 parents together that had this. I wouldn't have kept him for breeding were it not for the fact he's got his melee mutation. I've lost 1. I'm okay with that. You know, they're fairly good vultures anyway. Right, so he's got 2 from the mother, 1 from the father. Now, if we look at this one here, she has 2 random mutations from the matrilineal line. But she hasn't actually got any of the mutations out at all. So she hasn't got a stamina or a melee. I had a food mutation as well. She hasn't got those as well. Did I just say mutation? Mutation. There we go. So she has actually got none of the stats, but she has 2 random mutations in her lineage. Now, these 2 bred together and created this one. Now, if we look here, this one has literally only got the melee damage out of this. So that's 1 mutation. Go and look on the ancestral line. It's got 3 from one side, 2 from the other. So that means that this would be kind of useless to try and build a line because it's already got 5 random mutations. Now, I've also done the same thing over on this side as well, just to sort of further demonstrate this one. This one literally only had 1 mutation come out, but this was actually a child of VO33, and as you can see, the one with the male we're just looking at, it's got those 3 random mutations, only got the melee out, bred that back with him, and we got to this one. Well, the mother was passing on nothing special extra, and we've now taken this one up to 6. So the stat is not linked to the random mutations once the actual breeding is done. Once the baby has been born, that stat is no longer linked. Now, it does mean that you can breed lots of mutations into a creature. So, for example, if I bred a line of melee, a line of health, a line of stamina, etc., I could breed all those stats in, but I would have to make sure that I'm always leaving a space if I want to keep breeding out, for example, melee mutation on this guy, I need to make sure I don't max him out. There is a possibility that when you breed a maxed out creature with a non-maxed out creature, a mutation may happen on the maxed out creature still, or the stat from the maxed out creature, but I can't confirm that at the moment, but that is possible. I'm afraid there's a lot of green names there. I've literally just hatched a load of these. But okay, so the way that you can, the most efficient way to go about this, to get yourself lines that you're going to breed, is you need a stock of creatures that don't have any mutations in them, and you can keep breeding out the stats that you want to mutate. So for example, on these guys, I have, all of them have got a decent weight. It's not my max weight, but it's a decent weight. They've got my maximum melee, the one that was mutated on that one I just showed you, and they have the maximum health. And I'm just going to keep pumping out babies with these and hope I get a mutation on the stat I want. Now, when it comes to that guy, to try and get that melee mutation, basically what I'm doing is I'm taking any of the babies here that are female, that have those good stats in them, I'm throwing them in a pen and I'm just breeding him with them as much as I can, try and get as many babies out. Now, it is quite a rare chance that you're going to do it. So what you want to be doing, really, the ideal situation is for you to have a male that has got the mutation or the mutation of the line that you're working on, and lots of females with no mutations, so you're only ever ticking that counter up once when you get a mutation. Right, so that's essentially it. It's essentially what you want to do is you want to have lots of them breeding together constantly to try and get, a mutation on a stat. Once you get a mutation on a stat, you want to pass that on by breeding that creature. Ideally, you want to get a male. So you want to kind of make that into a male by breeding that. If it's, say, you got it on a female, breed that in with a male that doesn't have any mutations, but has all the max stats. Once you've got that male that has got the mutation on it, make yourself a pen, or just get him a load of creatures that don't have any mutation, have all of the max stats that he sort of came from, and breed him together and try and sort of propagate out that mutation even more. Try and get that mutation to mutate again. Now, what's most likely going to happen is when I breed this guy out, when I eventually get a mutation on him, on one of his babies, it's probably not going to be melee. But the thing is, because it came from creatures that had my max stats, it's still going to be a useful creature for me, but it's not going to be useful for terms of breeding down the lines. What I want to do, really, is I want to get one that has lots of weight, one that has lots of melee, one that has lots of health. I want to breed out as many as I can, then breed them together to make sort of like an uber vulture. Okay, so that is basically what you want to do. Just to recap, a mutation is a stat increase, a colour change, and an increase on the random mutation. The actual stat is not linked to the random mutations. You will always pass on more random mutations, so you don't want to breed the same mutations with each other, because all you're going to do is just reduce the breeding stock of that creature that comes from it. You want to have yourself a stock of creatures that has your max stats on them. You want to be breeding some of them to get your initial mutations out, and then you want to be breeding those mutations, ideally on a male, with lots of females that don't have any mutations on them, so you are not reducing the ability to get more and more down that line. Now, to know that you have a mutation, I'm afraid that we do have to go over to the spreadsheet of doom. So I'm going to go over to that. I do apologise. We won't be there for very long. Okay, guys, I just wanted to explain something that also needs to be said on this front. Is before you can really tell if you have a mutation, for some of the stats, what you need to do is you need to breed all of these creatures out, and you need to know what that stat is going to be once it's bred out. So, for example, on the melee side of things, this melee that you see here, which is a lower number, is actually the same stat. What it is the creature that this came off of, it wasn't tamed out at 100% efficiency. You can never get an absolute 100% efficiency on a tame unless you're using cheaty codes. So that 361 melee is 359.5 at the taming efficiency that I got that creature at. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that all of your green stats, all of your max stats that you get out, have been bred out at least once, and you do have a baby with them. Sorry, I had a little bit of croaky voice there. So even if you do happen to get a mutation early on, it's best to keep that creature aside and to keep breeding things out, just so you know what stat has actually increased. Because once you do know that, and of course, once you get to the point down here where you're duplicating the same numbers over and over and over again, it's very easy for you to actually figure out where the mutation is. I mean, even here, I knew that 705 on the stamina, that didn't come, that could not have come from any extra stuff. I'd already bred it out at least once. I knew that 705 just came out as 705, so that was a mutation. That was a 2-point increase. Whereas here, potentially, I mean, if I didn't know how much a general increase is on the melee, I could have thought, well, that's a stat increase. That's a 1.5 increase there. Oh, that could be the mutation, or that could be a mutation. So it's important that you do that. And like I said, once you get to the point, and you probably won't get one straight off, and once you get to the point where you're duplicating the same numbers over and over again, and you're just gradually working up to better and better creatures, you will find that it's very easy to tell the mutation. Like here, it was very easy to tell, okay, that's a melee mutation. Easy as pie. But it's important that you do breed them out, which is why I kind of say you do want to keep things in a spreadsheet, because it makes life so much easier. Because looking at this, you can go straight down, you can see where it's going to increase. Oh, look, there we go. That's a stat that's come out of nowhere. That's where the mutation must be. Right, guys, I hope you found this useful. I know it's not a huge, mega detailed explanation of mutations, but there's a couple of things that I do want to check out first before I actually put them in a video. But this should be a starting basic guide to them, and hopefully you understand it. Once again, just to reiterate, mutation is a stat increase, a color change, and a random mutation increase. Random mutations not linked to the stat. Random mutations will be passed down no matter what. The stat is not necessarily passed down. Once you get a mutation on a creature, ideally move it over to a male, but you just want to keep breeding that creature out with creatures that don't have any mutations on them, just so you're not doubling up on useless random mutation increases. You want to be doing breeding lines, so ideally what you want to do is you just want to keep breeding out lines of creatures and sort of doubling down on those mutations till you get to a point where you want, then just breed them all together. It doesn't matter then if you've got a creature that can't produce any more mutations, and you can't produce any mutations on creatures that are maxed out on the random mutations. Okay, guys, I hope you found this useful. I hope it helps you breed awesome creatures. Have fun. Catch you all soon. Bye.